In this video, I am going to try and explain where water can actually come from, where it can actually enter into a building. I know a lot of times we see water damage in a certain spot, and we think that the water is coming in right from the other side. That's not always going to be the case. Now, with a concrete block wall, I want to point out that concrete blocks can absorb moisture. If the moisture is absorbing in through the waterproofing on the exterior, then it can actually be absorbed into the wood. The wood will actually pull the moisture out. So you might come to a spot where you have more damage to a bottom plate than you would to the framing, and that actually might be something to consider when you're trying to figure out where this water is coming from. Another thing I'd like to point out is that water can travel horizontally from right to left or from left to right, front to center, front to center to front. It can travel underneath the plywood. So the water can actually be coming in here and then going over here. And this creates a lot of problems for trying to figure out where these problems are coming from. Here we can see that water has came all the way over to here. It looks like this whole area here has been wet, goes all the way over to here. You could be thinking that the water is leaking from directly above, and that's not going to be the case. It could be coming from another point. So again, this is where it gets confusing. Just because you see a lot of damage in one spot, this does not necessarily mean that this is where most of the water is coming in from. Could be coming in from another area. This is what the person who sent me the email, this is where they said the point of entry is. Of course, this looks like where it would be the most damage. Now, for those of you who paint something on a basement wall, some type of waterproofing system, or even some type of just a paint to cover everything up. Once the paint starts peeling off, this could be a suggestion that the water, you have a problem with water. Water tends to absorb into block. It has no place to go. It seems to cause the paint to separate from the block. So you're going to see stuff like this. This is the exterior, and you can see they have a gutter here. And the gutter's probably catching a lot of the water. The gutter's preventing the water from going and into the ground around the exterior of the basement wall. So this is a good idea. And here they have another gutter picking it up, entering into this one. Looks like they got a really good system here. One more thing I'd like to point out is that the roof shingles are sagging here. They look like they are not supported. So the roof sheeting, there could be a problem with the roof sheeting here. So you're going to need to check this out. Now, the damage is down here. And it would make sense to think that, hey, wait a minute, maybe the water is leaking in here and I've got a waterproofing problem with the basement. And you actually could. You could actually have a waterproofing problem with the basement. But the thing that, and this is where it gets tough, this is, you will actually need to probably remove some of these parts and start looking for any gaps or cracks where water could be leaking into. And it depends on how bad this leak is. If it's raining, been raining outside for about 3 hours, and you go in your basement and it's soaked, then you're probably going to find a bigger hole. But do not be confused. The biggest problem I ever had was a skylight, and it had a 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch, possibly a 1/4 inch in diameter hole, and it was like someone had the hose faucet on. This thing was leaking like a son of a gun, and that's all it was a spot. I filled it with roof sealant and never had the problem again. What a nightmare. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're going to be looking for. The siding up here tells me that there are plenty of places for water to enter into the waterproofing system. In the back, you have all of the wood trim is perfect for water to enter. Water will actually roll over the metal, and it looks like they have metal here over the wood trim. It'll actually roll over and around the metal and on top of the wood. and then behind the waterproofing. It's just not uncommon to see something like that. So the point of entry for the water could be anywhere along the roofing where the roofing butts the house. Could be any point of the where the wood and the stucco, any gaps here. It could be anything above it. Remember, water is going to leak down, and then it could leak all the way down. You could actually have moisture in the walls up here, and depends on how much water is leaking through here. And the water can actually be going over some of the waterproofing system, and then finding an easy path. And maybe the easiest path is right in the corner. Maybe they have some sheeting on the outside, and there's a gap in the sheeting between the sheathing and the waterproofing material or water-resistant material like building paper. And it's you got a nice little hole leading it into there, and it funnels it all down to the bottom. Here's another view of it. And I don't think that it's coming... The bricks or the rock here, the stone, could actually be discoloring or changing color because of the moisture here. We can actually see that this looks like it's a little more moist than this area over here, but it's hard to tell. Looking at this, I guess this is all moist here. So you could actually... the damage here could be coming from the interior water leak, or it could be being pulled out of and absorbed from the soil into the block and being pulled up. I've seen this stuff pull up as high as 3 feet. Do not be misled. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it would look like before it was framed. Before it was wrapped with the building paper and finished. A lot of times these problems right here, this is a big problem area. This is actually why most builders use this type of a system. They will come in and put some type of a high-grade ceiling, a building paper. It might be this is the product. I hate to use the names, but we used to buy a product called Bithutane, and I really don't know what you would call this. I guess you could read it right there. Building products, who knows? But this is good. This is a peel and stick. And you can see they didn't peel anything off because they don't want it to stick to anything. They're going to come in later and run the building paper underneath this so that anything that runs off of this will run onto the building paper. Now, I know this video is going to be a little long, but the whole purpose of this video is to give the individual some ideas on where the water can be leaking from, and hopefully it will help others. And you can always visit the website for more information. So this right here is a great idea. Now here's the bad news. This isn't something that every builder does. So the builders who know better do this. And I actually used to use 2 to 3 layers of building paper here. I'd put it in there, but this is way better to do something like this with a better product. Here's the section of the house that we're going to take a look at in a little more depth. Now here's something where water can leak in. Let's just say you do not have this right here. Or somehow it's leaking from the poor installation of this and the sheet metal. So let's pretend like we don't have this here. The water comes off of here or off of here, goes into the gap here. We've got the building paper covering this, but somehow it's getting behind the building paper. It can travel horizontally great distances. It can travel down and come in any gaps in the sheathing. It's going to look for the easiest path of least resistance, So if the building paper is squashed up against the face of the shear panel here, and the water's leaking and it builds up in this area, but it's not it's got a little too much resistance because the building paper has trapped the water on the inside, then this is going to be an excellent place for it to travel. This is where it gets to be a problem. You can actually have a water leak over here and 6 feet away have the water damage. So finding the water leak is going to be the key to solving the problem with all of this. You just can't go in and fix the damaged area. You've got to fix the area or the problem area where the water's actually coming in from. So this type of setup right here, where you have a roof that intersects into a wall, is a tough thing. It really is. So there are a few things you can do to prevent the water from leaking here. But if, and this is a biggie, if you don't have something like this behind the roof framing that runs into, that butts into the other wall, then there's a good chance you're going to end up with a leak. Here's what it would look like with some of the building paper installed. Got the building paper, and then of course the next layer of building paper will go underneath all of this here, so that the water that leaks off of it will go onto the building paper. But don't be confused. You can actually, you could see that this part right here isn't sticking out very far. Wouldn't have been a bad idea if the builder ran it out about 12 inches, and they probably thought, this is going to be enough. And maybe it will. It's definitely better than nothing. But you could see where water could somehow come in here. And most horizontal, so if you had let's go to the building paper. If you had a break in the building paper like you do here, usually the building paper underneath it or over it, you need to have a 12-inch lap. That's a 1 foot lap. That's minimum for any water traveling down here, because you can have water that gets behind the gap and it might only come in 6 inches before it comes down and out the weep screed. If that's the case, something like this, you could see, let's go back, you could actually see where if the water was to leak off of here and kind of go over 6 inches, now it's off of the paper. Now it's going to get behind the paper. If it was to come back behind the paper 6 inches on something like this, you're probably not going to have a problem. If it was to somehow build up to where it's going to be forced to go horizontally, now you could end up with a problem. And who knows, because if that's the case, this stuff could be 12 feet long and you could still have a problem with it. Here's what it would look like after it's finished, and I know you really can't see it very good, but you can see the building paper is running at an angle, comes down here, and then they have building paper underneath it. And this is an area where the lather for whoever installs the building paper really is going to spend a lot of time and make sure that everything is done right. It's not uncommon, and I think we can see it right here. You can see some of the butane or the rubberized product that's over the building paper. The building paper goes underneath it, and you can't see it over here. That's because the first layer of building paper goes underneath this and then probably goes all the way over to here. But either way, it's going to have at least one piece of building paper underneath everything, and then, pardon me, the next piece of building paper would go over it, which is what we have here. You can now see this is a full piece of building paper going all the way over to here, probably coming right up. So you don't get to see how that's finished off 100%, but that is more or less how it's going to be finished. So let's go ahead and go back to here. And with the information you just have that I just gave you, you can get a pretty good idea where the water could be leaking from. Or how it could enter into one spot right here, let's say, and then create a big problem. Now, if you're getting a lot of water and it is near a roof, most of the time it is going to be the roof. And this doesn't look like a large area where the water is going to be leaking from. If you had a roof, let's say, that was 20 feet from the front edge to the peak or the ridge of the roof, now you're getting a lot of water. This doesn't look like it's getting a lot of water, but it doesn't mean that it's not getting enough water to actually create a problem. So to do a repair like this, I hate to say it, the first thing you're going to need to do is start tearing some stuff apart. To fix something like this, the stone might need to be removed. And depending on where the water leak is, and how are you going to find this water leak? It's like I said, you're going to need to tear some stuff apart. I would try and start in this area here. See if this is damaged. If there's some type of termite damage, then obviously the water could be leaking in from that. Or if there is termite damage, this could give us a clue that we have a lot of water coming in, or a lot of water hanging around for a long period of time. Might need to do something about that. But you're going to need to see if there's flashing underneath the shingles. If there is no flashing underneath the shingles, and again, I have other videos on that. If you need more information, I can put some links in here or direct you to those videos. Go to the website, go to roofing repairs, roofing, check out the stucco, look at the lath, some of the lath videos that are on the stucco repair and the stucco under the home building section at the website for more information. So I hope this helps. Finding the water leak. I could go on and on all day about what you would need to do. But it's going to be forensics. It's not going to be easy. I would start in this area right here and see if you can find any gaps or cracks. If you don't want to take the stone off, then you're going to need to try and work in this area and see if you can redivert the water flashing. This gutter might actually need to go farther over, or it might need its own downspout to go all the way down. The problem could actually be right here with this gutter, depending on, what I just said about the roof. Well, I guess we can take that away. This could be getting a lot of water if it's taking all the water off the roof up here. If that's the case, you might want to redivert the gutter, have its own downspout, or somehow move the gutter over to where it's going right down into the downspout. It's not on the roof. And now that I look at this, I hate to say this actually could be your biggest problem, because you can have a spot where the water can come in, but if it's only 2 ounces of water an hour, because there's not a lot of water coming into that area, then you're not going to have as big of a problem as if you have 2 gallons of water coming into the area. And this is where something like this downspout could actually create a problem like that. Could have so much water it's backing the gutter up, it's splashing it, and this could be the problem why the wood is rotted underneath the eave, if that's why these shingles are actually leaning down. So this is probably a 20-minute video. Who knows how long it is. I'm going to stop it right there. I can make another part to it if there are other questions, and we will go from there. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the old thumbs up button.